Connections Radio presents.
Welcome to PRConnectionsRadio.com, voice of new media. I'm your host, Ian Rachiele. And on this edition of Vegas Hockey Hub, we are going to be doing something a tad bit different on this edition of Vegas Hockey Hub. Obviously, we all know what's going on with the Vegas Golden Knights, what's happening currently right now. And yes, we're going to talk about everything Vegas Golden Knights on this channel. In fact, our upcoming video, we're going to be talking about that. That's going to be our next video, actually, going in depth about what's going on with the Vegas Golden Knights. However, we're doing something on a different path right here, right now, as we are going to be doing a deep dive and actually looking back at your Vegas Golden Knights and seeing how many AHL All-Stars have been in the Vegas Golden Knights organization. Over the past 7 seasons, who have been the All-Stars from the AHL that have been a member of the Vegas Golden Knights organization? Now, there are 2 names that are going to be big in this video, okay? There are going to be 2 names that you're going to pick up on. You're going to know them very easily. There's going to be a few names that played, had a cup of coffee with the Golden Knights. And then there's going to be 1 or 2 names that you probably haven't heard of in a while, and we're going to talk about them as well. So this is going to be a real interesting video talking about everything on this episode of Vegas Hockey Hub. And this is going to be a really good video. We're looking forward to talking about everything on this channel. Now, before we get into the video, I do want to say, go to www.prconnectionsradio.com, voice of new media. Check out all the amazing shows we have on the network. We have about over a dozen shows at this point. So, looking at what's going on here, go to the website. Check out all the platforms we have on the network, including Vegas Hockey Hub. As a matter of fact, considering what the date is and everything that's going on here, I will say, if you want to watch, on Thursdays, we have The Power with Brian Gardner. They have on Mondays, you have Crypto and Cash. Tuesdays, you have Love of Business. So there's a lot of great content on this network. And then on this day, Monday to Friday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central, we talk about Vegas Golden Knights, Henderson Silver Knights, UNLV Rebels Hockey, and more here on Vegas Hockey Hub with your host, Ian Rachiele. Now, to kick this off, all right, to really get this started, we're going to start from the very beginning, and we are actually going to go back to 2017, 2018. Because you're going to have to remember, the first 3 seasons, the Vegas Golden Knights were in existence. The Henderson Silver Knights did not exist yet. The first 3 seasons, the Vegas Golden Knights had a different affiliate in the AHL, as the Vegas Golden Knights used the Chicago Wolves to be their affiliate. And, by the way, as a matter of fact, in 2017-2018, the Vegas Golden Knights had to share the Chicago Wolves with the St. Louis Blues. That's actually a reason why. Here's a little fun fact for you. Ivan Barbashev technically played with the Vegas Golden Knights before being traded to Vegas, as Ivan Barbashev was on the Chicago Wolves in 2017-2018, the year that St. Louis shared with Vegas the Chicago Wolves organization. That's kind of a fun fact for you there. But in 2017-2018, the first year of their existence, it was a fascinating time for the Chicago Wolves, because not only did this organization have 2 different teams that they were sharing a roster with, but this is also the same Chicago Wolves that in 2017-2018, they actually did something very interesting, a part that a lot of people actually do not know, and that is the fact that when you go to hockeydb.com, which is what we're using for a reference point, in 2017-2018, this is the Chicago Wolves organization who went 42, 23, and 7 as a organization. You had Rocky Thompson, who was the head coach during the first 3 seasons, AHL. But in that 2017-2018 season, not only did you have guys like Jason Garrison, You had players like Tobias Lindbergh, Jake Bischoff, even NHL players from the Golden Knights like Keegan Kolesar, Shea Theodore, and like I said, Ivan Barbashev. Those are players who played in Chicago that were on that team during that time. But more importantly, a very interesting situation was the two All-Stars who played in Chicago in 2017-2018. The Vegas Golden Knights had two representatives in the AHL All-Star game. Now, one of them you're going to recognize because this is a guy who spent a couple of seasons playing in Vegas. He was a bottom six forward. He was someone who the Vegas Golden Knights counted on for a couple of years. And the second guy, you probably haven't heard his name that much, but he has been a four-time All-Star in the AHL. One of his appearances just so happened to be with the Golden Knights organization. So in 2017-2018, the first representative was Brandon Perry. And Brandon Perry, who had a near 30-goal season and dropped over 50 points in 2017-2018 with the Chicago Wolves. This is somebody who was in Chicago, he was in Florida, he was in New York before he got the call to be with the Golden Knights organization. Now, for disclaimer, in 2017-2018, he only had a cup of coffee with the Vegas Golden Knights during their Stanley Cup final run in 2018. However, he scored 3 goals with the Vegas Golden Knights in those limited amount of games he had in 2017-2018. He played majority of the season in Chicago. However, I do want to mention that when it comes to Brandon Perry, this is someone that was a really good bottom six forward. In fact, during these seasons he played in Vegas, he was dependable, he was reliable, he was someone who the Vegas Golden Knights counted on to be a really good player in the organization. And despite the fact that he played in those seasons with the Vegas Golden Knights, that 2017-2018 season, if you combine his AHL and NHL stats, in 59 games, he had 32 goals and 55 points in the regular season. And then he played in 3 Calder Cup playoff games in 2017, 2018. And by the way, in 2017-2018, since I'm breaking all of this down, the Chicago Wolves made it into the playoffs that year, but lost in the first round in 2017-2018. So Brandon Perry was the first All-Star representative the Vegas Golden Knights had out there in Chicago in 2017-2018. The second guy is someone who has bounced around the AHL for the last couple of years, and that is TJ Tanyan. Now, this is someone who is currently with multiple organizations. He owned the Colorado Eagles, the Ontario Reign, the Cleveland Monsters, but he was with the Chicago Wolves and the Vegas Golden Knights organization during this 2017-2018 season. And this is the same guy in TJ who had 15 goals and 60 points in 70 games in that year in 2017-2018. Now, to give you a little bit of context, in 2018-2019, he would re-sign with the Chicago Wolves, spend his second and final season in the Golden Knights organization. And for TJ Tanyan, he had 71 games in the regular season, 12 goals, and 71 points in his second season in Chicago. And he actually helped the Chicago Wolves get to the Calder Cup playoffs and actually go pretty far in the Calder Cup playoffs in that 2018-2019 season. We'll talk about more of that in just a second. So in 2017-2018, the first season the Vegas Golden Knights are in existence. Chicago Wolves, they're the AHL affiliate, and they have not just one, but 2 AHL representatives. That was a very good start to 2017-2018, and it was a fantastic way for the Vegas Golden Knights to kind of start out their franchise as an organization. I really like what we saw from them there. Now, That was 2017-2018. And as we're talking about the past AHL All-Stars your Vegas Golden Knights have had here on Vegas Hockey Hub, moving over to 2018-2019, you didn't just have one All-Star. You didn't just have two All-Stars. You had a trio of All-Stars in the AHL for the Chicago Wolves in 2018-2019. Now, before I set up what happened later in the year, let's just talk about what happened in 2018-2019. This is a Chicago Wolves team that had Rocky Thompson as their coach for the second year in a row. It's also the same Chicago Wolves that went 44, 22, and 10 in that 2018-2019 season. And the amount of NHLers that were on this roster is actually kind of interesting. As in 2018-2019, you had future Golden Knights players like Dylan Coghlan, Keegan Kolazar, Nick Hague, Zach Whitecloud was on this roster. Guys like Cody Glass, who was a first-round pick at the time, he played in Chicago. So you had a bunch of future NHLers who was playing in Chicago in 2018-2019. Now, you might be asking yourself, Brandon Perry, wasn't he their All-Star in 2017-2018? Did he go back-to-back in 2018-2019? And with a smile on my face, I will say exactly. Brandon Perry was a two-time AHL All-Star with the Vegas Golden Knights. As in 2018-2019, he actually did a very solid job, 18 goals and 42 points in just 29 AHL games for the Chicago Wolves. And actually, he didn't play in the Calder Cup playoffs that year. How so? Because he earned a ride with the Vegas Golden Knights, and he played in around 30 NHL games for the Vegas Golden Knights that year. He had a dozen goals for the Vegas Golden Knights and picked up 18 points on the season in 2018-2019. So for a guy like Brandon Perry, this is someone who was a two-time AHL All-Star, but at the same time earned a very valuable experience with the Vegas Golden Knights, and to have 15 goals in 33 NHL games up to that point with the Vegas Golden Knights, he was providing a lot of value to the Vegas Golden Knights. He was a dependable bottom six forward, and considering what would happen afterwards, I will tell you now, Brandon Perry did not appear in the AHL All-Star game in 2019-2020. The reason for this is not only did he appear in 16 NHL games for the Vegas Golden Knights, but he actually appeared in 38 AHL games, had 15 goals and 35 points. HockeyDB.com is my reference for this. And it would actually be the last season he appeared with the Vegas Golden Knights. So he played for Vegas in 2017-2018, 2018-2019, and 2019-2020. The Vegas Golden Knights did not pick him up after that. He would spend 2 more seasons in the Chicago Blackhawks organization before not being back in the NHL, and he has not played in the NHL since 2021-2022. So, for Brandon Perry, to him being a 2-time All-Star for the Golden Knights, that is a remarkable milestone by him. And once again, people who are Vegas Golden Knights fans, you probably recognize the name because of the fact that when it came to Brandon Perry, he was a bottom six forward for Vegas who played 3 seasons with the Golden Knights organization. And like I mentioned before, this is somebody who played in 49 NHL games in Vegas and suited up for them. Now, Daniel Carr, I will not blame you if you don't know who Daniel Carr is, okay? Daniel Carr is someone who spent only 1 season with the Vegas Golden Knights organization, but my oh my, did he make it count with the Vegas Golden Knights in that 1 season. Daniel Carr spent 2018-2019 only with Vegas, appeared in 6 NHL games, had 1 goal and 1 point while suiting up in the NHL for Vegas as a bottom six forward. But what Daniel Carr did in the AHL is even more impressive. as Daniel Carr in 67 games. He had 35 goals. He had 48 assists for a whopping 83 points in the AHL that year. To say that Daniel Carr was an all-star would be a massive understatement, considering the fact that he had, just in the regular season, a 71-point performance. He led all the Chicago Wolves in points that year. And as a matter of fact, he actually earned a contract with the Nashville Predators off of his performance with the Chicago Wolves. So that's why, after that one season in the Golden Knights organization, earning an All-Star game appearance, Daniel Carr would go to Nashville and play one season there. And then he would actually have a cup of coffee with the Washington Capitals organization before leaving the NHL entirely at the end of 2021. So Daniel Carr may not be that familiar to Vegas Golden Knights fans, but he did play in half a dozen games in the NHL, and he racked up over 80 points in Chicago off of just one season of production. So definitely an all-star performance by Daniel Carr in Chicago. That last name, okay, the last name from the 2018-2019 season, you're going to recognize that name. As a matter of fact, he is a big part of the Vegas Golden Knights history, directly or indirectly. As the final name from the 2018-2019 season is defenseman Erik Brannstrom. It is the same Erik Brannstrom that was drafted in the 15th overall pick by the Vegas Golden Knights. The same Erik Brannstrom that eventually would be traded for your captain in Mark Stone. This is the same Erik Brannstrom that in that season, he only played in 41 regular season games that year, and he actually had 7 goals and 28 points for the Chicago Wolves. But to kind of point this out about Erik Brannstrom, him being a top prospect for the Vegas Golden Knights, his career hasn't gone the way Ottawa probably hoped it would. As after being voted to the AHL All-Star game, after being an AHL All-Star, he would be dealt at the trade deadline to Ottawa for Mark Stone. He was the main piece, the main package that was coming back for Ottawa. And unfortunately for Erik Brannstrom, he just really did not pan out what they were hoping he would be. As over the last couple of seasons, this has been his production. Now, he played in 2 NHL games at the end of 2018-2019 when he joined the Ottawa Senators organization. Following that, in 2019-2020, he appeared in around 30 NHL games that year for Ottawa, only racking up 4 points in that season. During the COVID-shortened 2020-2021 season, he appeared in only 30 games, 2 goals, and 13 points in Ottawa. Not the greatest stats at that point. Now, getting into 2021-2022, he would actually play the most games up to that point, 53 games, but only 14 points, and he did not pick up a single goal in 2021-2022. Now, for Erik Brannstrom, the past 2 seasons in Ottawa, he did redeem himself somewhat as he played in 74 games and 76 games respectively, and he has actually scored 38 points, 5 of them being goals, in the past 2 seasons. Now, for Erik Brannstrom, do I think that he is a top-end defenseman in the NHL? No, absolutely not. But do I think Erik Brannstrom could be a third defensive pairing on a very good team? Most likely. And for Erik Brannstrom, whatever happens in the future, I wish him well, but he will forever be remembered with the Vegas Golden Knights for 3 qualities. 1, he was a first-round pick in the inaugural draft of the Vegas Golden Knights. 2, he was an all-star with in the AHL for the Vegas Golden Knights. And he was traded for Mark Stone. That is what he will be remembered for with the Vegas Golden Knights organization. So that is 2018-2019. Well, moving into year 3, the final season in Chicago. Well, unfortunately, the Vegas Golden Knights could not repeat what happened the year before. As in 2018-2019, where you had 3 representatives at the AHL All-Star game, and you had the Chicago Wolves make it all the way to the Calder Cup finals before losing to Charlotte in the finals that year. 2019-2020 was a dip in performance in the final season in Chicago. They actually went 27, 26, and 5, and they did not make the playoffs that year. Rocky Thompson, his final year as a head coach in Chicago, and this is a Chicago Wolves team that unfortunately just did not have a lot of success that year, and their one and only All-Star was a draft pick from 2017 by the Golden Knights by the name of Lucas Elvenez. Now, when it came to Lucas, he spent his first season in Chicago, 59 games, 12 goals, and 48 points on the year. The bad news for Lucas is that would be the best season he would ever have in his career. As following his All-Star appearance in 2019-2020, he would play 2 more seasons in the Golden Knights organization. He would play in 37 games in 2020-2021 and only 20 games in 2021-2022. It's also the same Lucas Elvenez that had only 6 goals in 2020-2021, and then he had a very bad 2021-2022 where he had only 20 games and 2 goals for the Henderson Silver Knights. Now, the bad news for Lucas Elvenez is, unfortunately, he'd be put on waivers in 2022, and he would be claimed by the Anaheim Ducks from the Vegas Golden Knights. So you can have a very quick turnaround in the AHL. You can go from being an all-star in 2019-2020 to being put on waivers and being claimed in 2022. Now, for a guy like Lucas Elvenez, this is someone who unfortunately left the NHL and left major professional hockey at the end of 2021-2022. And unfortunately, he has not stepped on the ice in the AHL after 2022. He has never played an NHL game for Vegas or Anaheim. So he has been an AHL player for his entire career, and he has not played in the AHL since 2022. So after 2019-2020, you had the Henderson Silver Knights, okay? And with the Henderson Silver Knights in 2020-2021, they had a very successful year, had one of the best records they had in a long time, and they actually went back to having multiple representatives in the AHL All-Star game, as you would have Logan Thompson and Ryan Murphy as your 2 representatives in the 2020-2021 season. Now, to kind of make this more easy, I will break this down in a more easier way. This is the Henderson Silver Knights, where they went 25-13-1 that year, and it's also where Logan Thompson put himself on the map. This is a Logan Thompson who was actually in his 2nd year playing professional hockey. This is his first season playing in the NHL, playing for the Vegas Golden Knights organization. And my, oh my, did Logan Thompson knock it out of the park when he came to Vegas. As in his first season playing for the Golden Knights organization, not only was he an AHL All-Star, not only did he make his first start for the Golden Knights at the end of the year, but it's the same Logan Thompson who in that season, here's his stats, by the way, in the AHL. Incredible job by Logan Thompson. 23 games played. He had 16 wins to 7 losses. He had a goals against average of 1.96 and a save percentage of 94%. If that doesn't explain to you how he became an NHL goalie almost a year and a half later, that probably explains it. So Logan Thompson had an amazing year in the first season at Henderson, and was an AHL All-Star. Ryan Murphy was a former first-round pick by the Carolina Hurricanes. He unfortunately did not pan out for them, and he spent one season playing for the Golden Knights organization, and he would be an All-Star. 5 goals, 27 points that year in 40 games. So at the end of 2020, 2021, Logan Thompson's a big name. Eric Brandstrom, you would know who he is. Brandon Perry was a 2-time All-Star. You probably know who he is. Well, in 2021, 2022, you're not going to know who this person is. Because in 2021, 2022, the AHL All-Star did not happen for Vegas. So this one is blank. It is left alone. Vegas did not have an All-Star in 2021, 2022. 2022, 2023, however, they actually had 2 representatives, both on the defensive side, and this is actually a very funny story. In 2022, 2023, the Henderson Silver Knights had a terrible record of 29, 38, and 5. However, Braden Bahal was the captain of the Henderson Silver Knights. And with him being the captain, he actually did a really stand-up job that year. And in 55 games that year, he had 15 points and 90 penalty minutes for Henderson. It's also the same Braden Bahal who spent 3 seasons in the Golden Knights organization, and he actually racked up 3 NHL points in Vegas alongside the amount of seasons he played in the Vegas Golden Knights organization, as he actually would spend 5 seasons playing in the Golden Knights organization. So Braden Bahal, 5 seasons in Vegas, unfortunately would be put on waivers in 2024, and he actually would be sent off to the Calgary Flames, where he has made a home for himself. Now, Daniil Myromanov, another guy who was a very valuable piece to the Henderson Silver Knights. He came over to Vegas in 2020, and this is somebody who spent 4 seasons in the Golden Knights organization. Now, the season that he would be an All-Star, he had 9 goals and 22 points that year. He split time with the Vegas Golden Knights. And for Daniil Myromanov, after having a very good run with the Vegas Golden Knights organization, he would be traded for Noah Hanifin during the 2024 NHL trade deadline. So, funny enough, both of your All-Stars from 2022-2023 left Vegas and went to Calgary and within about the same month and a half. So, both of your All-Stars going to Calgary from 2022-2023. And then finally, this happened a couple of months ago. In 2023, 2024, you had 2 representatives for the Henderson Silver Knights. And the first guy that's on this list is somebody who is actually a former Las Vegas Wrangler, someone who has actually made multiple trips to Las Vegas, and that is Adam Cracknell. Now, Adam Cracknell had a very successful season in the AHL for the Henderson Silver Knights, and when it came to Adam Cracknell, he was actually named the captain of the 2024 AHL All-Star team on the Pacific Division side. There's also the same Adam Cracknell who had 18 goals and 35 points that year in his 1 season in Henderson. Obviously, we don't know what the future holds, but Adam Cracknell, his 1 season playing in Henderson, 18 goals, and an AHL All-Star appearance. The same can be said for the other representative and someone who led all of Henderson in points this year, Gregory Diansenko. This is somebody who scored 20 goals and 56 points in his first season being with the Henderson Silver Knights. He was picked up on waivers by the Florida Panthers in the offseason prior. So 2 new guys in Henderson who were All-Star representatives this year. So kind of recapping everything, you had Brandon Perry, TJ Tanyan, Daniel Carr, Eric Brandstrom, Lucas Elvenez, Logan Thompson, Ryan Murphy, Braden Bahal, Danny Miromanev, Adam Cracknell, and Gregory Diansenko. Those have been your 11 AHL All-Stars who the Vegas Golden Knights have had. Thompson panned out. Bahal, Miromanov, Perry, they all played valuable time with the Golden Knights. And then you have some guys like Diansenko and Carr who had a cup of coffee with Vegas. So this is Vegas Hockey Hub. I'm your host, Ian Rachiele. And until next time, continue watching hockey. Go watch junior hockey. And go Silver Knights. Go.